We are here to bring you everything and anything surrounding Porsche. I'm Mike.
I'm Aaron.
And this is P-Car Talk. All right, welcome to another episode of P-Car Talk. I'm Mike.
And I'm Aaron.
And you join us back in the studio. You guys have had some guests on the show for the last few weeks that you guys been enjoying, I'm sure. And,
I've enjoyed it.
Yeah, so going to get to hear us blabber a little bit, but we got a lot to catch up on. But before we do that, let's get into what we normally do since we haven't been able to do that.
Patreon shout outs. Here they come. So, producers, Brandon J., Eric A., Robert G., Sriracha Boys, they've grown. So
Some hot boys are getting
14
strong.
people, like, all together. So
Okay.
we got Scott H., Matthew G., Brian R., Matthew M., Sean H., Niki F., Todd M., Aaron L., Richard P., Ray L., and Robert W.
Nice. Ballers. So Aaron and I have been talking the last few weeks when we've been offline. So the Sriracha Boys, with our drive, we're going to talk in length about it today a little bit more. But we're going to probably do a spring drive with that Sriracha Boys, not 2022, so not like in 6 months, but probably 2023.
24 to 5.
Yeah, whatever. Years. Yeah, someday, right? No, but in all seriousness, probably a spring drive for that group. However, that group needs to at least have 50 people in it before a drive is even offered for that grouping. So peace of mind, if you're interested in doing both drives, you need to be a member for both. Because it is a lot of work for us to put on that drive, but there's a demand. So a lot of people that were on the Fahren drive asked us if we could do a spring one. We thought about a fun way to do it instead of just having it under the P-Car Talk arm of just P-Car Club members, because then that would make those 100 eligible again. So I think this is another way for us to get fresh faces to have another opportunity. However, there's people who want to double dip, and that's fine too. But I think this is another opportunity for us to maybe get. So that's a big announcement happening with that. What you need to do is just be eligible for that, is become obviously a Sriracha Boy member on the Patreon on our website. And then we're probably first 30 to sign up when we do have the drive, similar type of situation. There'll be more information that comes out. However, I want to emphasize that number threshold needs to be at least 50 people. That way we can offer the drive to at least 30 of them, because that's about the numbers of how that works.
That's a good split.
Yeah, so there's that. Also, we're going to have, Aaron's going to send out a mass email, probably, I say mass because it's not really mass, but it's the few people that are on the waiting list for the P-Car Club. We did have a couple openings, so check your email in the next 7 to 10 days. You're only going to have 24 hours to sign up. That's how Aaron works it. You get the email, you sign up and become a P-Car Club member if you've got that email. If you miss it, sorry, you go back on the waiting list. Speaking about the waiting list, go to pcartalk.com and join the waiting list if you're not on it already.
Well, you go to join the club, and then that's the only thing you see when you join the club.
Yeah, is to get on the waiting list. So that's for eligibility for the drive and all the giveaways and all that good stuff that we've talked about a lot of other times. Yeah, so just wanted to give a quick update on that. So let's get rolling on the show. I mean, I know you guys if you're on Instagram, but if you're not, you're worldwide, you don't follow us on Insta for whatever reason. Aaron ended up getting a car, correct?
I did get a car.
What?
I know.
What did you get, bro?
Not an air cooled.
No.
So there's that. Didn't end up being a 996 like we thought.
No.
I mean, it was 996 into the late hours. And
996.4.
Yeah, .4. Yeah.
That's an inside joke.
So to pick up from the story where we left off, because we had the saga of me getting a GT3, not getting a GT3, getting a GT3. So what had happened?
The whirlwind, right?
Yeah. So I had every intention of getting that 996 in Tennessee, but as we found out, it wasn't available. Even if this other 997.2 that came up randomly had it not worked out, then I still wouldn't have a GT3.
Yeah, so they were going to get sold out from under you regardless, right?
Yeah, it was done. So the story is, I was looking to buy tickets to fly to Tennessee and all that stuff. I was setting that up, and I got a text. I thought it was somebody else, and they told me what it was. I was like, I don't know about this. Let's see the numbers. Let's see the car. Where it was at. How much of what kind of hoopla is it going to be for me to get from where it's at to back here? And will I get back here in time for Fahren? That was my main goal.
Yeah, because we were out of town when this kind of was all unfolding, right? Yeah.
And we were just on the cusp of, I think that weekend, maybe that's when we were leaving for Luft.
Yeah, we hadn't. I don't think we had left for Charlotte, but I think we were leaving like in a day or two, something like that, right?
Yeah, it was a Friday. Saturday. Was I trying to get on that Saturday? No, it would have been the next Saturday. But it was still. I was still working the deal while we were at Luft, and then so everything worked out after we swapped numbers, got the paperwork done, loaded on the truck. Haven't seen it by this point, so I've only seen pictures from 2 years ago.
Okay.
So 2019.
Hey man, I bought both of my cars sight unseen. So.
Well, and then I had to get like, so what's done to it? And then I kind of assumed what's done to it. I found a video of it. So I looked around and know it's all black. So that's cool. It's got PCCBs.
Nice.
It's on steel rotors, from what I can tell. Some racing pad. I know for sure is a racing pad. It squeals.
Yeah, it's probably like a Paget or something like that.
What else? It's got carbon buckets. So
nice.
That was something that was
a
cool checkbox
feature.
that I wasn't intending on finding. Yellow seatbelts, which is cool. Yellow gauges, yellow chrono, axle lift. So
That's awesome. Axle lift.
I don't know that it. I mean, there's very few options left for to check the box with it that I can think of.
Yeah, there wasn't a crap ton at that time.
Leather dash, I think that was a thing. All the stitching is the gray color, not yellow, which
which is good.
I'm actually happy about because I feel like a lot of people feel like if they get BCCBs and yellow belts, they have to go yellow deviated stitching.
It's like almost, it's too much, right? Yeah. It's everywhere.
The inserts for the carbon buckets is leather, and I don't know if that's always a thing. I see it back and forth, but I like that more than just a wear factor because the steering wheel was already starting to show a little bit of wear.
Yeah.
Same thing with the shift knob. A little bit of wear.
That's how mine is.
But it's been on track, which they told me it's been on track.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, that's fine.
Yeah. Both of our cars have been,
that's
what they're used for.
Yeah. I mean, it was going to the mountains.
I'm glad it's been.
So, yeah. What else can I say about it? Oh, it's got a cage in it from Titan, so that'll give you it's like that chromoly color that Porsche does.
Yeah.
So that's cool too. It's not too much yellow. That's kind of the thing. Like I'm not a big yellow fan in the first place.
Yeah.
So to have it
subtle,
have some accents,
subtle. Where it's not too much black. Nice. So how do you like it? You've had it now for about a month. I know you. I mean, I know the background, so I don't want to but we flew in. The car, basically, you went and picked it up the next day.
That's true. So Mike didn't really know what was going on.
Yeah.
That like normal. So Mike didn't understand why we had to get back at a certain time from Luft.
If you don't know, this guy likes to play his Mickey Mouse game. Like, oh, hey, I did a thing. Like, and me, I'm just like totally transparent. I'm sure you guys could figure that out about us already on the show. Like, Aaron's cryptic as shit, and like I'm in your face. Like, it's whatever. So. Enough of that. So go ahead.
Well, so that's why I kept pushing. He's like, "Well, we should drive up there." I'm like, "Well, I don't know if we should drive up there. I think we should fly up there. The tickets are cheap. We should just fly up there."
Again, where you could have just been honest and probably would have like solved a lot of problems.
We should just fly up there. Well, I want to fly up there anyways, but this made it even more because I didn't think I was going to be able to turn around this deal and get there and get back. And so the car came to Orlando, so I ended up picking up from Orlando that Monday, right after we got back from Luft. So
and then we were leaving Wednesday morning.
Yeah. So I barely had the time. And then I ended up buying, I bought some luggage from Suncoast because found out that my luggage I had didn't fit in the frunk because I don't know if it's extended fuel tank, just a weird frunkness, or I don't understand.
It's probably the axle lift too.
It's probably, what that is, probably exactly what that is.
Yeah.
So I ended up buying new luggage for the trip that we took. But
guy's big balling over here, buying GT3s and luggage, Porsche specific luggage for it. What are you, a Ferrari guy?
No big deal. No, it was one ended up being that detailing kit that I said I would never.
Them Sriracha boys are kicking off, boy. The hell, that Sriracha boy money. Aaron got that Sriracha boy money.
So we're trying to get 50 members.
Just. Yeah, I wish that was the case, dude.
Oh man. So how does it drive? I mean, it drives. It's everything you would think from the 997 standpoint, like amplified, and I can't wait to do because we talked about doing other suspension and stuff like that on it, but it's just another level to have that amount of power in the car, and the feedback on the car it's phenomenal. It's everything. If you took I was just driving the base car, so that's as drastic as you're going to get a C2 to GT. Well, I mean, you could go RS, but
Yeah, but you're
same
there, you know,
but
yeah.
the GT3 feels, it's just everything is to 10. Tires feel, grip feel, confidence. That's another thing too. I mean, the bucket seats definitely help when you're pinned in a little bit more. But turn in.
Yeah.
I never felt at any point that I was.
You felt good in the mountains with it?
Yeah, I did. The only thing that was disconcerting to me in the mountains is when I was like, everyone was asking about the car, so I was telling them, and then I was like, yeah, I got Pirelli P0s. And then I get the look of, ooh, those aren't good in the wet. I'm like, bro, it's raining tomorrow, or like possibly wet. You better be careful in those. Better keep it down. So I ran middle group just to keep myself safe and honest.
Well, guess what? Our compound doesn't work well in the rain either.
Yeah,
So
well, I mean, you never know to what degree. You just hear people, oh, I had those before, and man, they're terrible in the rain.
yeah,
Great. Like misting, I'm like,
yeah.
But it was good.
We went through a monsoon on the way up there.
We did.
Trust me, we were all on our compound, so I was feeling your pain. I hydroplaned on the interstate on the way there. So
and I ran over something.
Yeah.
I don't know what it was, but it was something.
Yeah. Dead.
Well, yeah, you couldn't see. It got so bad. The visibility probably was not 10 feet in front of us.
Mm-hmm.
It was pretty bad for the rain on the way up. But during the trip, it was fine. But yeah.
Yeah, so first trip out, I mean, we're in the mountains. Obviously, you're not going to be, it takes time. We always talk about seat time, and that's understandable. But from everything maybe that you had imagined, oddly enough, I think of all the cars we've ever driven, and even including me, I've never driven a 997.2 GT3 or RS. So was it everything and more that you thought it was going to be, or was it exactly what you thought it was going to be?
I feel like it's exactly what I thought it was going to be. Like it's heavy, it's raw. It may not be 996 RS raw, but the clutch is heavy. It's exactly like when I sat in yours.
Yeah.
I haven't driven Mike's yet because we haven't swapped keys yet.
Yeah,
So
we haven't swapped wives yet.
Now we can swap keys later.
Yeah,
and
we're gonna do
it'll be
wife
fine.
swap later.
But I sat in his, and I pressed his clutch. I was like, man, that's a pretty heavy clutch. The clutch feels the same.
Mm-hmm.
The shifter, that's something maybe that I was unexpected, but should have been expecting it to be as crisp and precise as it is.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of people upgrade to the numerics and other shifters and things like that, but I mean, I really feel like that. I think they got the GT3 shifter like pretty good.
Yeah, they're good.
Like I feel like it's like 99.999% there. I don't know that.
Yeah.
I don't know that the numeric for me would make.
I don't think it would do
giant
anything
difference.
for me. I actually put the 997, the one of yours in the RS, the 997.2 RS in the Turbo S that I had.
Okay.
Because everything's compatible,
it
you know,
is.
in Matsker, everything's exactly the same. So I just put that short shifter from that came factory in that car into that Turbo, and it made a night and day difference. So yeah, I know the feels. It feels good.
Does you feel exactly like your 996.1? I mean, 997. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, it does. I mean, it's same thing. It's very, I don't think they did a lot between the generations as far as like transmission goes or any of that stuff, because they're just really, they feel really great. The synchros are perfect. I don't think there's anything lacking, at least when I drive mine, and we're pedaling in the mountains, and I'm blip shifting, downshifting, blip shifting, all the whole time, and I never catch myself being like, man, I wish the throws were shorter. Never. Do I feel that way in that car. So I agree with you. I don't think there's anything. I mean, I'm sure that if you put it on paper, it probably is milliseconds faster or whatever, but I mean, come on, we're in the mountains. And I like the way it feels. So I'm one of those things where if it feels, I like the way it feels, I'm not going to go hunting for something else. It's like the old additive of like you're catching fish in a fishing hole. Like, why would you leave that hole to go find other fish somewhere else?
The Avenger's not worth it at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the car is also lowered, and I don't know if it's really. I mean, I know it's track set up because it's definitely lower, and it looks like it's cambered in a little bit.
Mm-hmm. It's a good looking car, man.
So I wouldn't.
And you wouldn't think just black would be good looking, but it looks great. It looks aggressive. It looks tough.
Saw black is something I wasn't looking for either, but I was like, oh, black, cool. But then it really shows like a more dark blue in the sun.
Yeah, Basalt does that, which is nice.
Specs.
Plus, on top of that, like, I mean, we won't get into what you paid, but like you got a good deal on a .2. So it's one of those things where it's kind of like it could have been almost any color, as long as it had paint on it, and it was pretty much going to show up at the house. Like, it could have been silver, it could have been anything. It didn't matter. It was kind of one of those.
And looking back, I mean, yeah, there's so many other things I could have bought too. I mean, but yeah, this is definitely not something I was like, yep, I'm going to have a .2.
Well, yeah, I think, and share a little bit too, because I don't want to speak for you. Like, you did some narrowing down as far as you knew, and this is a development from where we haven't discussed on the show because you were still kind of like not sure. You eliminated 991.1s from you, right? Like,
yeah,
so I want you to kind of elaborate a little bit of like where you honed in on, because you know you don't have the mic that often, so I want you to kind of like have this
looking at 991.1s. I mean, it was a thought, but then it's just the engine trouble. I don't want to be stuck in it, even though they have the warranty. It's coming up soon, and even if you do the extended warranty, that's still coming up in soon. So you still have, it's another IMS or boogeyman type thing. Like, if it happens, it's bad.
Yeah.
I mean,
and you got to see one happen, so
yeah,
that's
and I got to see
probably
one
scares you to
firsthand.
happen.
So that's not like, so that ratio to me is like, whoa, that's close to home. Let's not do that. And then two, I like PDK, and I know that's faster on the track, but I don't know that I was gonna love that on the daily. I don't know that it was gonna excite me just to drive
because
around.
this is an occasion car.
Yeah.
This is not a daily driver, so you wanted it to be an occasion, right?
100%.
Yeah.
And that's where it's at. And so looking at it, I looked at 1, 2, 3. I was looking at probably 3 or 4 different 991.1s from California to close by, and they were all in the probably 125 starting and up range. Just looking around, and it started looking deeper and deeper, and that 3.8 motor, to me, if it's gonna explode, which I've seen it, so that didn't help me at all. For comfortability, I just don't know that in the back of my mind that would have been something. Now, does it handle well? Yes, we know they handle well. We know they drive well. Been there, done that. That was the first 911 I'd ever driven in 2015. So
okay,
I got drive, and I loved it. It was great. And I was like, man, I'll never own a GT3, but this is fun.
This will be fun, right?
I guess I'll just be renting them. That's cheaper.
Yeah.
I don't know that anything. I mean, the only thing that scared me about the GT3 and 991s is just the motor. I don't think everything else I loved about the car.
Well, I think there was another thing, like you and I also, like, you might not recall, but we did talk about this a little bit when you were leaning towards something of the Metzger region, and then a manual.
Yeah.
You were looking ahead, like, I'm talking like decades. Like, okay, if I buy this car, even if I pay up for it, I'm gonna probably keep this car because it is a manual, and they're making so few manuals now, and then they're not making another Metzger engine. So I think, I know you brought that up because you and I had talked on the phone about that a few times.
That totally plays into it.
So I think that kind of helped nestle you into the wedge of where you were with it too.
It's a collectability, even though it's going to be driven. It's got miles on it. It's got 44,000 miles on it, more now. But
it's parked money is what it is. It's not like it's not a blue chip car, but you're parking money.
Exactly. That's the other side of it too, is seeing the prices thanks to Albert posting them like every day of what the market's doing on Mannheim. I'm like, okay, I see what the .1s are doing. I see Albert's in the money in his .2, and then I get to see the other cars. I'm like, okay, they're moving. All right, the Metzgers. Both of you and I have talked about it at length. The Metzgers, the manuals, that combination.
Give that car another decade. I think it's gonna be.
We already saw them move up this year. And like everything else. That's the other thing too, is when you start going into the inner circle of just GT3M, and then you go, okay, what was made? Okay, Metzgers, we got that. All right, where in the Metzger line does it look the best? Yes, you can argue that the 996 Mark 1s or Mark 2s that we got are gonna be going up because they're the first gen. Maybe. I think the 997s are gonna be. I think for a long time it's gonna be like the 993, 996 war, where the 997's in the 993 spot. Everybody likes that car more. Maybe the 996 will overtake the 997 later on, but I think the 997s are going to be in the money for a long time. Yeah.
Well, they already start like at a higher point, right? So I think they'll remain there and they'll continue to climb. And you got the last of the gen too, so I think you have the home run car, as people would want to call it, right? The last of the 997s, the narrow body, the slick top, the 3.8, the Metzger. I mean, it checks really all the boxes. So kudos to you, and I'm happy for you, man. And I know everybody else is happy for you. So I guess maybe me like breaking you down all of these times, like people threw you a bone and like gave you the homie deal of a lifetime. Because like, to be fair, like it, we won't discuss pricing, but just saying like, this car was never for sale ever on the market. It was more of kind of like, hey, I know of this person who would want to move this car because they're not using it. this is what they want. Are you okay with paying this?
And the crazy, more in-depth story you just reminded me, I had asked this person like 3 weeks ago before I got the text. He was like, I don't know anything, man. Got nothing for you.
Yeah.
I was like,
just caught him on an off day probably. He's like, oh,
been.
shit. Oh yeah, like, there is a car.
Yeah. But I think he remembered because I think this guy was trying to sell it last year. Or he thought about selling it last year.
Yeah.
From when I started talking to the other guy. That was the deal. Man, so then I figured that out. And then they were like, okay, cool. And then I guess he remembered. And then he was like, hey, Aaron, what about this? And then now the deal's done.
Yeah.
It's still, I mean, it's cool to have 911 again. It's nice.
Yeah.
Man, that's nice to have a GT3.
Back in the club.
Back in the club. I know. Can't just be living that Cayenne life.
Exactly. Well, I'm super happy for you, man. I'm really glad you ended up with that. It's just kind of, it's one of those things we've talked about this. You just never know sometimes what's coming. Exactly. And it seems like all hope is like failed because you missed on some cars.
Oh, yeah.
But it worked out well because you did miss on those cars because at the end of the day, if you knew that was available, you would have picked the car that you have every time over. So it just worked out really, really 100%. Well for you.
Yeah, like had I got that Guards Red 997.1, I wouldn't be super sad.
Yeah. Oh, that was a great car too.
Had I got the 996 in black, I would have been a little sad because that one was pretty plain and kind of beat up. So
I would have been a little sad. But.
And then if I had to settle for the other. What was that color? It was blue, dark blue color. It was, not midnight blue, metallic. Maybe
was
it
that
was.
Cobalt?
No, it
was
may have been
midnight
car?
Blue. Oh, yeah, it was a midnight car. I remember that car now.
That one had a couple wrecks on it, but I still would have.
He wanted a lot for that one, too.
He did.
Though.
I mean, but at the point that I'm at, it was like there's 7 cars in the U.S. And so
kind of felt a little defeated, right?
I'm like, okay, well, if I'm going to shoehorn myself and I can only have a 996 and a 997 GT3, here we go. Here's the market. And that's all you can see. And that's the other thing, too, is Mike tells me to use my network all the time, and I never reach out to people. And this is the first time it's worked out, I guess, that I've thought about it. And
you need to be better about that. We know a lot of people. And I don't say it's taking advantage. I don't like just reach out to people, man. And people want to help. There's tons of people that know stuff that, hey, you know about a car? Yeah, man, actually I do. And so I'm glad it worked out. So let's transition.
Yep.
Aaron's got his car for now. Now he's going to be hunting an air-cooled, so he's not going to buy another water-cooled right now. So we know it's telegraphing what's probably coming next. Probably like some type of 964 at some point.
Maybe. Maybe he already got reached out to.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe.
So maybe he got a G-body, maybe not. Who knows? We'll see. But good thing is, he's building it back up. Yep. So Luft, we haven't talked to you guys since then. We went to it. I know there's been a lot of other talk and photos and all that stuff, so I think it's a good time for us to discuss it, like our thought process behind it, what we liked, what we didn't like. I'll lead, and then you can kind of tell me what your thoughts were.
That was great.
I thought it was interesting that it was in Indianapolis, like where it was in that Bottle Works district. I thought it was quaint. I'm going to use that word. And I thought it was unique how they set it up. It was like Luft. They did a good job with staging Jeff, like he always does. They had some really, really awesome cars there. The venue was cool. It was cool that it was paired with, I guess the Porsche Festival is what they're calling it, right?
Which they've had multiple ones. I didn't know this until I looked back on it.
But that was really cool. They paired it with some Carrera Cup racing that was happening that weekend, so you got to see a little bit of race car stuff, and it wasn't just a static thing. So I would say in comparison, compared to maybe the one it was at Universal Studios that everybody lost their mind over and all that stuff, and it was great, so I'm not trying to underplay that, but I'm saying as far as variety goes, this one actually had a little bit more because you had track day stuff and you got to see race cars, and there were some vintage race cars there, and then there was displays there at the track that weren't being displayed at Luft as well. So if you went to that, you got a little combo of both. So I kind of enjoyed that part of it. How about you? What were some of your thoughts on that?
Well, I don't know if it was meant to be the way it was, but
no, it definitely wasn't. But I'm saying it worked. Yeah, regardless of how the planning was structured, I'm saying as us as consumers being able to attend and actually see what was available, I think that worked out well for us.
I think it's crazy that they found the most California place they could in Indiana. That's what I took from it. I was like, you know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of Universal Studios, like a lot of that's sad because they try to find stuff that within history or some type of just cool factor. And that's exactly what it looked like. It was like, oh, cool. It looks like where the bottling plant would have been was like a movie set.
Yeah.
And then they had like, was it 100-year-old? One of them was a warehouse or a bottling thing or what it was.
Yeah, it was like Coca-Cola bottling, I think.
Yeah. So they had the different displays, and though I thought it was really cool. The Porsche Festival was like par for the course. It's exactly what I thought it was going to be. I'm like,
same.
I was like,
typical Porsche, right? Like,
well, it wasn't. It's like it wasn't bad in any way, but it wasn't like crazy. I think if they leaned both into the Luft event and they had brought in a bunch of old school, like if they had made it Rennsport-esque, even just for a day, then that would have been over there. I've been like losing my mind over that because 917.
Same. I think we were hoping for that, but that didn't happen.
But they still had enough things where even when we talked about the Super Cup stuff, it was still our Carrera Cup racing, but they had Cayenne off-road stuff, and they had simulators, and they had some type of contest between the dealerships, and then they had the PCA show, and they had that was cool. Were there any cars there that you didn't expect to see, or did you for Luft? Was there anything that was like, whoa?
I'm always a big. There was a real ST inside, so I'm always a big fan of an ST because there's such a low number car. I think there's maybe like, don't quote me on this and flame me, but I want to say there's probably like 12, including prototypes ever made in the world. So other than that, I mean, there was some really. I mean, I don't want to downplay and say there wasn't. I mean, obviously the 935 Coca-Cola car was badass.
Yeah.
The 962 Cola car was badass. There was just a lot of like typical things. Like we see a lot of the cars on the internet. So does everybody else. But I think what we gathered and everybody else who also went there, what really matters when you go to these events is like when you hang out with the people that maybe you don't get to see that often, that maybe come in, like, for example, like Chicago, or that live in North Carolina or wherever they end up living, and you don't live in your home state, and you get to see them at these events and kind of catch up, because not everybody's going to the same things that you go to. They don't go to the same rallies you go to. They don't go to the same races you go to just because of the region. And this is one of those unique events where this kind of pulls anyone from any region, because people are so, I guess the best way to say is like excited about a Luft event where people will come from California or people will come from Texas. People will come from all over. But like, maybe the 24-hour Rolex happens, people are like, yeah, people aren't going to fly in for that
Sounds
event.
Great.
It's like, cool, I'll watch it on TV or whatever. Yeah. But I think this is one of those unique events where people will make that move to come to it, because let's be honest, like there wasn't one the year before because of COVID. So everybody's still jonesing from the one that happened in 19. So I think that's kind of what helped to springboard this. Fingers crossed we're still going to have one in Durham at some point. That would be really nice. I thought it was a pretty good turnout. It looked like there were a lot of people there. What'd you think about that?
It looked pretty packed.
Yeah, it looked pretty busy.
Yeah, we never know what to expect, but that whole place was crawling with people. It was, I mean, anytime we went into the little eating spot, it was full, like packed with tons of people. Everywhere was, I mean, it was full. I didn't expect that many people to be out there. The car number was decent. I don't think it was great. It wasn't California last time.
Yeah.
But I don't think
that was the expectation
I think
either.
Quality was there, though.
There was great cars there. I don't think that was the expectation either, though, to kind of put on something like that at that level. But I'm glad that they hosted it. I'm glad it happened. I'm glad we went. It was fun. I don't have anything negative to say about it.
I think the Luft Safari car surprised me a little bit.
Oh yeah.
Like I wasn't expecting it to be as
talking about the
as it was.
The 964.
Yeah.
Yeah, that thing was.
Was it signal green?
Yeah, that thing was awesome.
Tucked in bumpers.
Yeah, that thing was.
I think they did that on the first one and maybe the second one, but the wheels look different than I've seen before. At least I think they do. Maybe it was just the green had me mesmerized.
Yeah.
The entire time. But
it was an amazing
looking Safari.
Yeah, it was an amazing build on that car. I really enjoyed that car as well.
Pat made me sure to let me know it was the number 3 car ever built. I was like, yeah okay, I understand.
Yeah, I get it.
Thanks.
We get you, Patty. We get it. Let's take a quick break, and then we'll come back with some more stuff. All right, we're back. So let's talk about our drive for a little bit. Fahren,
we had one.
Yeah, we had one. I know we talked about it. We built it up for a long time. We had probably, I want to say we had about, we only were going to slate 30 cars. I think we had 28, 29 people sign up, and I think we had 4 or 5 last minute
Like,
people,
way last minute.
like yeah,
Like,
the day before or something like that couldn't make it for one, either work, one was mechanical issues.
One was there was a family emergency and stuff like that. But anybody like that, those bags have been sent out though too. So look for those.
Yeah. Okay. I was going to ask you about that.
Yep.
So then, secondly, needless to say, second one was almost sold out, which we really appreciate. It'll definitely be sold out this year because I want to say almost everybody that was there that participated, the 25 cars that were there, every single one of them is going to be back next year. They lost their mind and had such a great time. I think it was a really, really good event. Obviously, we're talking about our own event.
It's the best thing I've ever been to.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but we try to because we've been to a lot of things. So, by factor, thankfully for everybody else, we've got to sample basically a lot of other things, and then it's almost like you come back to your own thing and you're like, all right, let's infuse all of the things that we liked and make that happen. And all of the feedback we ever got was pretty positive. We had a lot of good stuff that we gave away. We gave away I think like 5 things of Whistle Pig. We gave away a set of tires. We gave away a trophy.
Couple of trophies.
Yeah, we gave away a big piece of art.
That was taken to Merit Partners and then hung out for Smokey's GT and was put in their room.
I saw that traveling. But yeah, so that was great. We always try to do that with our event, and it grew a lot as far as what we were giving away this year, and it will next year too.
We had some coffee from North Carolina.
Yeah, Charles Stanley supported and put coffee in all the goodie bags for us too, and that was really nice of him. We had Haggerty come in and sponsor some of the dinner, so big shout out to Haggerty.
That was good.
Big shout out to JRZ that helped sponsored some of the dinner.
Thanks, Chris.
So it's coming around and it's becoming its own thing. Obviously, it's 2 years in now. Next year will be year 3, and that's kind of like it's going to be its junior year now. So it's going to be in full ready to go. So when we do announce that, I think the dates will probably be announced similar, probably January timeframe. That way you can kind of plan your PTO if you are one of those people who need to plan your year out.
Yep, that's me.
My challenge and my request to you is if you want to go ahead and slate that and make that happen. For some of our last minute cancellations, we didn't really spell this out, but I'll just go ahead and say it now. If you're 30 days in, we'll probably be able to get you full refund. But if you're 7 or 10 days out, you're not getting anything back. We just kind of changed that a little bit. We did help everybody out. So the point of that is so there's a lot of dinner reservations that go in. There's a lot of logistics come in. There's things that have been ordered for you personally already. So if you're paying, and if you can't make it, you eat that cost. That's what normally people do on a lot of these rallies, because they still want the goodie bag and all that kind of stuff. So just a heads up on that moving forward. If you're listening and you're going to sign up and something ends up happening, that's fine. But like again, if you're 30 days out, we can work with you. But
we'll just do it. We'll go if it's halfway. That's like up to 50%, and then once it's after the halfway point,
that's nothing getting back. Because it's just going to be, and I hate to do that. I just want to say that for people that I get it if your car's not ready and you have a last minute thing it comes up. From a business standpoint, we can't be flexible with that. So just know that you're going to eat that like $400 or $500. It's not that big of a deal, I would hope, to you. And we'll send you your stuff, and if I could send you a to-go box and FedEx you your food too, I'd do that too, but sorry.
I don't think Schnitzel and a big liter of beer would hold too well.
Yeah, but anyways, so the drive was, and I think it worked out really well. This was the first year that we did it on just the weekday, so we did Thursday, Friday driving, and it worked out really, really well. Again, I've been on these drives where it's a Friday, Saturday, and it's Saturday gets a little hairy because there's a lot of traffic on the road.
Everybody else is planning their Saturday.
Yeah, as you can imagine, these are public roads, so they're being used. So we're going to continue that process. It's going to be a Thursday, Friday thing again. I think the nice part about it is like Aaron and Kristen and myself came together and had the family fun day on the Saturday. I think everybody really enjoyed that. That was the Oktoberfest in Helen itself. And everybody dressed up, and we had a great time, and we all went around, and you had that day of like decompression. Everybody was really tired because we drove really hard for 2 days, but it was a nice day to actually relax, drink, hang out, talk, eat, talk about the past couple days, and actually bond. I would say probably 50% of the people stayed, and about 50% of the people took off that day. To each their own.
We had a lot of people that lived kind of close too, so it wasn't that.
Yeah,
like, oh,
but
wow.
I would encourage anybody who is going to go again next year, if you're part of that 50% that ended up leaving, I would encourage you to try to stay that day because you did miss a good time. And it's more of a camaraderie thing, right? Like, so I think everybody would benefit from that additional day. And I get, you know, you want to get back to it, you know, it's the weekend. For a lot of those folks, they still were able to enjoy their Saturday, Sunday because they do live close. So then I get that too, but at the same time, you know, spend the day. I think it's worth your while, I guess, is the best way to describe it.
I would say so.
What are some of your big takeaways from the thing that we just hosted?
I would say that the weekdays were definitely a winner. I feel like we did hit some traffic here and there. I mean, you're always going to hit traffic, but it was less than I expected. Had great weather for the most part.
Yeah.
That's something you can never.
That's unpredictable. Like, that's just one of those crapshoot things, right?
I like that some of the stuff in the goodie bags is still being talked about. Like Vivek was asking, he's like, "Wait a minute, are those gummy bears like German gummy bears?" Because
like those were.
My wife had these and they taste different. I'm like, yeah, they are German gummy bears.
They were imported.
Yeah, not exported.
Yeah, that's on Kristen and Aaron. They have that mindset to make sure that all those little fine details, like all the way down to the goodie bag, that stuff matters.
Yeah, so tasty. Yeah, even Chad had a second bag.
No, I know. He's like,
he's fiending for
he's like,
things.
where do I get more of this?
The dentist was
it's like
out
we
there.
we FedEx those from Germany, dude.
Yeah, you can go take a plane.
Have fun.
Outside that, I think that we broke up into groups this year, so we had enough that we did groups, and I think the groups worked out well, and people got to, you know, if they wanted. I don't think people really moved. I think people stayed in their groups.
Yeah, I think we paired everybody pretty well. I think everybody's pretty happy with their run groups.
Pat ourselves back for that. We're pretty awesome.
Yeah, everybody had. I think it's just a pairing of the cars.
Yeah,
I mean, it was pretty easy. So another thing, I think a lot of people, it's just traveling by word of mouth. They thought our rally's only air-cooled, right? Super fast cars, because we had a bunch of GT cars, but it's not. We actually had almost an entire Group 3 filled with air-cooled cars.
Don't mind that one of the guys with the air-cooled cars is now buying a 992 GTS. Don't mind that point.
It kind of happens to you, doesn't it? But he's still going to have an air-cooled.
Yeah.
But the point of this is, if you have an air-cooled and you are a P-Car Club member, or that's preventing you from being a P-Car Club member, or even a Sriracha Boy member, your car can still come on this rally. Like, we will place you appropriately in a run group. We will not stick you with 13 GT3 cars and expect you to run with them. Like, we're better than that. Come on.
And air-cooled to water-cooled happened the year before as well.
Exactly. So it's just one of those things where don't be bashful because you have an air-cooled. There was a bunch of them that came and they had a great time and they drove fast and they had fun. So there's just a group for them too. So
we hand out trophies, but it's not for winning.
No, it's not. It's not. It's not for the fastest stuff. It's not for any of that stuff. So again, it's not a race.
We had a cowboy hat we handed out for our signature touches Magnus Walker Award.
That was Kevin
loved that.
Kevin looked good in that hat.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it was all in all, it was great. It was a great mixed bag that we talked about before. There's probably like 8 or 9 GT3s, a handful of turbos, a handful of GTS Caymans, a handful of Carreras, water-cooled Carreras, and then there was a handful of, air-cooled stuff, G-bodies and 964 mix with those cars. And it was just a really good variety. And all of the cars were just really, really nice. Most of them were all modded, so it was basically like
even the 996 Carrera, which you thought was a 996 Carrera, it was, but it's like a fully built motor.
Exactly.
It's pretty insane. I was like, oh, man, he's really getting it. And then I was like, oh.
You're like, well, that's why.
Yeah.
You're like, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, all in all, I want to thank everybody for coming out, all of the members who participated. I know they all had a good time. I'm looking forward to seeing them all again. I know they're looking forward to the trip again. And again, the ones that can't get enough and that want to double dip, become Sriracha Boy members, and we'll get that list going. And probably at this point, maybe 16, 17 months from now, maybe we'll have a Sriracha Boy rally.
Yeah, maybe.
So up there and see what happens, and it'll be similar, probably based out of the same area, but it'll be a little different because obviously it's Sriracha Boy. So I mean, that's under P-Car Talk, it's under our arm, but it's kind of one of those like hot boy things. So like we'll think of something good. We have a lot of time, and it'll be its own thing. So we'll probably call it the Sriracha Rally, something to that effect, and it'll be neat. So
one thing we were sad that we missed Albert this year, but we thought we saw Albert, but we didn't.
Yeah,
we both pulled up and we're like,
And then we saw the jersey plates on Niki's car.
Yeah, it was old Niki F.
Yeah. But what a legend. He won the award, the long distance award. He actually drove down from New Jersey in his GT3. So that just shows you guys you can drive the cars. He drove all the way down and drove all the way home. He got a bottle of Whistle Pig, I think, that they polished off that evening. So
makes for that drive home.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a little bit easier.
The pain of that was lessened by the Whistle Pig, right? So yeah, kudos to them. A big shout out to everybody who came out. There were we had a big group of Miami guys that came out. I appreciate all them, like Vivek and Chris and all of those guys, and the ones that couldn't make it. We really did miss you guys. You missed a good time. I really hope you can make it next year, because it's, again, maybe at some point we'll discuss it, but like we'll have to discuss it with the membership as far as if they were going to allow any more than 30. But I feel really comfortable with that number, because logistically, when we do lunches, when we logistically do dinner, I think really that's really the max. That's the problem. And we talked about before, when you have too many people, you almost don't talk outside of your groups. When it's just enough people that there's variety, but it's small enough where you can still talk to everybody in length and actually have conversations with.
And your ratios of like wrecks and just faults and all that stuff. Just every person adds that extra.
Yeah, you want to be risk adverse, right? So, and all in all, our event went off without a hit, and we love it and can't wait to do it again. And we appreciate everybody involved, and that was great. So I went to Targa basically the week after that, which is
get enough.
Which is a Charles Stanley event. That was very fun. There were 70 cars at that event, so that's a little hectic.
How many groups do you have for that? 5?
No, there's more than
6?
that, I think. I want to say there's 6 or 7.
Okay.
Probably 7, I think. I think there's 7, to be honest with you. It's a lot.
10, yeah.
And that one's so big that there's a Route A and a Route B. So like so 3 groups are running Route A, and 4 groups are running Group B, and then they flip-flop the next day. The next group runs Group A, and because there's so many cars, which is, that's his thing. He's been doing it for a while. I just don't like being at those things. Like, they're great. I feel like we're eating in shifts. I feel like we're driving in shifts. I just feel like we're on a naval ship or something. It's like, all right, I'm sleeping in the cot, and now you guys are sleeping in the cot because I got to go to work now. I still enjoy the event. It's a great event. This is not a knock on Charles by any means. I have great camaraderie with everybody there. I have a wonderful event. He puts off a great event at Little Switzerland. This time the whole place was pretty much ours, I think, minus maybe a couple rooms. So it was consumed by nothing but Porsches. It's a beautiful thing to see all of these vintage air-cooleds. That's an air-cooled event only. To see them all in the parking lot kind of gathering and congregating.
/ invite only.
Yeah, it is. But kudos to Charles. I appreciate him putting on the event. I can't imagine how much work goes into that, because we do 30 cars and he's doing double that.
All year.
No, I know. And, we've talked about on his podcast, his wife, an unsung hero of that event, and like your wife, an unsung hero of this event. It does take that special person to do that work and behind the scenes and like grind this stuff out, because it is a lot of planning. There's a lot of logistics. There's a lot of stuff going on. And like I said, it's double the size, I would say. I mean, basically you're just timesing what we're doing and doubling it. It's enough for what we have already. I can't imagine trying to do it at that level. We would probably have to.
So it's the same lunch point, just everybody's meeting at different times?
I think lunches, so Group A all eat in the same place, and Group B all eat in the same place. Okay, so they're even eating lunches in different places depending on what route you're running for that day.
That's cool.
And he's doing that logistically to spread everybody out throughout the mountains, so you're not
people at one restaurant.
Not even just that. Everybody take 70 cars going down the same route, even in different time intervals. So the logistics of that is challenging. So he's sending them all in different areas to try to at least maximize the road, so we're not everybody's all bottlenecked up.
Did you find yourself like hanging out with the same people over and over, or did you mix it up? I mean, there's a lot of people. So it's more to your point of like bigger.
Yeah. So for me, I end up just like normal. I talk to a lot of people in the morning. I talk to a lot of people in the evening at the cocktail hour. I do a point of mingling with a lot of people, probably because a lot of what we do, so it comes very natural anyways for us to be able to do something like that. But when I sat down to eat dinner and I sat down to like decompress myself and have my own drinks, you know, you have your core friends and you end up spending those time
just hanging out.
Exactly. Underneath a tree, hiding in camouflage, wearing my ghillie suit.
Need some me time.
Yeah, just sitting in a ghillie suit, like on the edge of the mountain. Be like,
it's
yeah,
too much.
Overstimulated, brother. No, but and I think that's pretty natural, right? Like when you want to get loose and you want to hang out, like you end up going with your core people that you normally hang out with and get drunk with, or do whatever you want to do with, you know, and have your downtime, if you want to say, in air quotes, for that night. But yeah, but during the day, I found it. Yeah, I was mixing it up with a lot of people. At lunch, I would sit with people and talk to people.
What trial did you like more, A or B?
You know, honestly, I just kind of follow the leader, man.
There's
a lot of it's a lot of Michael Bolton. There's a lot of great roads that Charles and I should say Justin Smith helps him out a lot too with that. So big shout out to him. They spend a lot of time scouting these roads, actually, like by hand, like meaning like they'll go drive them. So it's a good reason.
Start hiring Charles. Hey, Charles, I need you to check out this, and this. Thanks.
Yeah, I can't imagine what his fee would be, something like that. He's like, sure, man, I'll send you a bill for 10 grand, no problem. It's like, what?
Day one.
Yeah, exactly. What? But him and Justin, it's a good excuse for them to drive their cars, right, too, so because they're planning this event so far in advance again. Yep. You know, some of the roads are similar, but some are new. So it's basically you take the highlight reel, kind of like we do. We add in some stuff, we take out some stuff. We're going to be taking some stuff out next year and adding some stuff in, but nothing major, just some like good stuff where we feel now that we've done it a couple of times where we can clip some fat and say, okay, we're going to put some more meat in here. So I think that just comes with time. Again, big shout out to him. You know, it gives me more perspective coming to these events actually and seeing that many cars at that level. And what goes into that, because I know it goes into ours. Yeah, and then I see all of that, and I'm like, wow, this is a big production.
Do you think 70 is going to be a stopping point? Because I thought like 50 was going to be a stopping point, but...
He said verbally that they're capped out. This is where he's at. He's comfortable with this number. Like, I don't know if comfortable is the word he used, but he said this is what I can handle.
Well, I mean, it would definitely work out if he can lock down the hotel the way he does every year. Mm-hmm. Because then now he's got a routine. He can... You know,
so that hotel has 75 rooms.
Okay.
So he had 70 cars slated.
And then,
So I don't know if I never got the final total from him, but I'm assuming it was something close to that if it wasn't that. You know, same thing with ours. I'm sure he had a couple people who couldn't make it, last minute here, last minute there, whatever. But again, always a great event. I love it's such a different event than ours. In a good way. They're both positive events. It's such a different event in the sense of the type of roads that he finds very good technical roads that are cut out for the air-cooleds. Meaning, if we ran those roads in those GT3s, I don't think we would have a good time running those roads.
It's just too tight.
Well, yeah, they're just not really building a lot of speed. So and the cars are way more powerful, meaning the GT3s are way more powerful. So you wouldn't be really ever in the power band properly. But with these air cooled, since they have so much less power, you can be full throttle in most of the time. Almost kind of the whole concept of driving a slow car fast type of deal.
Momentum.
Yeah, and he does a very good job with his event with these very switchbacky type roads, technical roads. And, you know, our roads, you know, we have a lot more bigger sweepers. Like, we do have technical roads, don't get me wrong. Like, Waya is very technical. But we mix that in. But I would say, you know, if I had to put it on a percentage scale, I would say 65% of our roads are maybe like sweepers and they're faster pace, but then 35% of our switchbacks and tough roads and like stuff like that. But they're all still mountain roads, but it's just kind of, you go to enough of these things and now you start to get in the weeds of like the fine nights, like of, oh wow, that was like Blood Mountain, that was a 2-laner all the way up, pavement's perfect. Oh wow, that was like Waya, like, you know, even in an air cooled, like the car may drop a wheel off the tarmac if you're not careful, and there's like foliage. Yeah, there's foliage there, and the car's going to go off or whatever, you know. So there's, you know, you start to really get into the finite details. You start driving these roads enough, and you're kind of like, man, this is a road that's built for this kind of car, and this road is built for more of this kind of car. So I think he's a really good job with that, and we do as well as far as where we need to be at, because if we don't need to be running those roads, those target roads for the GT style cars or the bigger cars. But with that being said, we had air cooleds that were running it just fine. It just The bigger girls just need a little bit more room. That's all it is. So coming back from Targa, let's close the show with that.
Yeah, what happened there? What exciting things happened on the way back?
Man, I'll tell you what, after I feel like I've been traveling for an entire month, right? So I'm on my way back, coming back home from Targa, Carolina, and northern North Carolina, driving through, no problem, no hesitations.
Fifth gear, 7 grand.
To like where everybody, you know, is answering or questioning maybe while they're listening. It's like, you know, you normally these fuel pumps make like a whining noise. Maybe you can hear something going on. Well, if you don't know, my 964 is so loud. Even if it was making a whining noises, I couldn't even hear it over it. So it could have been giving me an indication that it was like unhappy and I could have like preventatively got after it. Yep. However, I'd never heard it. So on the way back, it literally just cut out on the interstate on I-75 South, 30 miles outside of Valdosta. Literally just fuel cut, nothing. Yeah, just losing RPM, everything. I'm pumping the gas, nothing's happened. I'm like, okay, cool. Take it out of gear, get out of the lanes, and like get all the way over. Thankfully, that part of I-75 South is very large, and the road is in good condition, so I was able to get over. So it's still, you know, it was like 3 lanes at that point, so I was able to get over, and then, you know, you get on the horn and you start making phone calls. I got back, you know, behind it to see if maybe it was a throttle cable. It wasn't that. I started looking around. I'm like, okay, well, it might be a fuel pump because I was trying to turn the car over. It wasn't turning over, so it wasn't getting fuel. So, you know, there's only a handful of things it could be, right? Like it's getting air, it's got spark for the most part, so it wasn't getting fuel. So I kind of thought it was that. So I'm a AAA Platinum person, so I had it towed to Valdosta. I was also contemplating like having it towed all the way home because I was within a 300-mile like radius. Because you get
a fun ride with somebody you didn't know.
Yeah. So you get a couple of those a year if you don't know, for like a long distance tow, a part of that membership. So that was in my mind, but I didn't want to go jump off the cliff right away. So I Googled, there was a Porsche independent in Valdosta. I called them, called Pete's Auto, OTTO. And they're like, yeah, we work on Porsches here. Bring it. I told him what I had, and he's like, okay, it sounds like it's probably a fuel pump. Get it towed here, but we'll look at it to make sure before we order one. So I get it towed there. This is probably an hour and a half later. Actually, tow truck came pretty quick, and me only being 30 minutes away, so not too bad. Get there, I walk in the door. Lo and behold, our friend Dan, that olive green 964, is sitting there behind the desk. No idea Dan worked there. I knew he lived in Georgia, but he didn't know he lived there.
Of all things, yeah.
Yeah, so a good friend of ours happens to work at this shop. He doesn't own the shop, he works there. He's like, dude, what? I didn't know. See, he said, some guy called about a 964 and he was having it towed in. I was like, that some guy is standing in front of you now. And he's like, holy crap, because he didn't take that phone call. So long story short, super accommodating. We found out it was so that's Monday. I'm coming home Monday afternoon. I want to say around like 1:30, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Obviously not getting a fuel pump that day. Put a request in for it to show up the next day. No big deal. I need to stay at a hotel. Dan offered me his home. I didn't want to put that on him and his wife and kid. So I just stayed at the hotel. But one cool thing Dan did do is he gave me his BMW. He's like, hey, take this. I'll just have my wife pick me up from work. No big deal. So I come in the next day hoping, you know, I'm not unrealistic thinking the part's going to be there right when they open, because that's not how things work. I've ordered tons of parts. So I'm thinking around noon, 1-ish, this thing should show up. It's not showing up. So I go get lunch, you know, to kind of just like not think about it for a little bit. I come back, it's still not there. So then they're starting to check tracking on it, and it's still saying in transit, not out for delivery. So we're starting to put this together like, okay, it's not coming today because it's still in transit, because it would say out for delivery. And that was FedEx. So at this point, he orders a second part that day. This is Tuesday. He orders a second part. So that part hopefully can get here Wednesday morning, or at least after like early afternoon, and I can leave if the other one doesn't come as a backup. Yeah. Because expectation is they both should be there now Wednesday. Something should show up to put in the car, right? Hang out Wednesday, go have breakfast, come in a little later on purpose. UPS guy comes and goes. Was going to be the second carrier. Nothing. However, it was on his manifest. He did not have the part, though. So now this is lost in transit. It's like, what the F is going on now? FedEx still hasn't delivered. It's still out. it's turning to 2:30 in the afternoon now. Still no FedEx delivery.
No delivery.
Yeah.
Yep.
So now we're starting to look at, okay, now I'm going to stay here a third night. And I was just not, I was done. I'm like, no.
You don't know Michael. If he's tired, hungry, those are two things where he gets kind of angry.
Turns
just
into like gremlin.
Yeah, he's a gremlin at that point.
Yeah.
So you can tell his attitude, no matter if it's nice or not.
Yeah.
He's ready. He's ready to come home. He was ready to come home.
I was ready to come home on Monday. Yeah.
Yeah. So at this point,
I'm already extended this by 48 hours. But I was pleasant, like, because Dan was super nice to me, still letting me use the car the entire time. Super gentleman, super nice guy, and he's trying to follow in the stories. I'm so sorry. I'm like, this isn't Yugo. This is a shipping issue.
Yeah, you're not a delivery person.
Like, this is a shipping issue. This is not a your shop issue. So at that point, I didn't suggest this. I didn't ask him this because I would never ask anybody this because that's their own personal property.
Mike's like, where's your car at? Give me your fuel pump right now.
That's not what happened.
I'm done.
Because if I was that way, I would have just asked for that on day one.
Hey, you got a 964, right?
Yeah, right? Like, I would have. If I already had that on my mind, I would have already not waited for I would have already asked that on day one of Dan. I've been like, hey, just give it to me. I will buy you a part and ship me the part that I'm buying. Get me the F out of here. But I guess played it out, and he offered, and he goes, you know what, man? He goes, in order for you not to stay here another night, I'm going to go get my car. We're going to pull my used one out and just put it in your car just so you can get home. So he did that. Thank you, Dan, by doing that. So cool of you to do that. And that just, I wanted to bring that up. I know I posted it in my post in my feed, but for people who don't follow me on Instagram, this just shows you how the brotherhood of Porsche is, trying to do anything that you can to help somebody out in a pinch. And again, he didn't have to do that.
It's true.
And we know that could have failed on me too because it was used, but it didn't. It got me home. And not even, I can't, again, make this up, not even joking. He calls me about 20 minutes later. I've been on the interstate for about 20 minutes. He goes, how far did you get? He goes, FedEx just dropped off the new fuel pump. And I was like, awesome. And it was like 3:30, 3:45 at that point.
I'm already 20 minutes out. I'm out.
Well, it's not even just that. It was the install process. Like, it still took an hour and some change to do it. So he had to undo Dan's, and he had to, put it in mine. The tech that was there, which he was a legend for even doing that, which is super nice. And so I left at 2:30 with an hour and a half of labor already done. So if I had waited even till that time, it would have still been another hour and a half off of at basically could have got out of there at that point at 5:30, hitting rush hour traffic all the way home with a 4-hour drive. But instead I was able to get home around like 6:30-ish because Dan gave me his that day. And then lo and behold, they don't have a shipping issue apparently to St. Pete because one of the pumps that came in that day, he took it to UPS that night, shipped it. It showed up at my house the very next day. How does that work? So, and I know you said there was like UPS and FedEx were having issues,
FedEx
right?
Is.
Like
UPS, I have no idea.
But anyways, that was the saga of that. I will probably carry a fuel pump now.
I was gonna say,
I'm gonna carry that used one because I have a brand new one now, so I'll just carry the used one when I go on long trips, just in case anybody else needs it. So, so the point of the story is people are out there to help you. Don't be afraid to drive your air cooleds and your classics, or even like your modern cars, because crazy stuff happens. Aaron's friends with a guy that has a GT4 that had some type of issue. It broke down and.
Man, almost made it to Indiana.
Yeah, in Atlanta, he was taking it to Luft. I say Aaron's friends with him because I'm not friends with that guy. So, but anyways, I'm saying it can happen to modern cars too. So don't be afraid to drive it. Yes, you might have to stay somewhere for a couple extra days, but it's not the end of the world.
But not 3 days because you get your own fuel pump from somebody else.
But honestly, in the moment, it was hell. But I'm glad I did it because Dan and I became closer because of it. We were more like acquaintances, friends. Like we would talk and we would hang out at events. But now we have this bond and this brotherhood of like anguish. It's almost kind of like if you've ever played any sports or if you've ever been any through, like everybody hated the coach because he was, made you do burpees or beat the shit out of you. Or if you were in the military and they beat on you and you like through that pain, you've become brothers. So that kind of like that theory behind that, that's kind of what happened with Dan and I. And I can't be more than, appreciative than to him that. Did you send that thing that I asked you to, like that was all ordered already, right?
For what?
For Dan?
Yeah, I did. So she asked me. I just remembered
Yeah.
what you were talking about. Yeah, I did.
But I mean, you had to have because I saw the order form. So like you ordered
It's
it.
already been there like days ago.
Okay, cool. I just want to make sure he got it. So you sent it to the address I gave you, right?
Yeah, I think so. Is it your address? No.
It didn't go to your house, right? Your old house?
No, I don't think so.
I just double check it.
I will.
Okay.
See what's going on.
Well, sorry for the open talking. We don't have anything else. Do you have anything for them?
I'm done. Yeah,
We're back in
nothing else.
town. You're going to get some more of us for coming forward. We love you guys. We'll talk to you guys soon.
See ya. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of P-Car Talk. Connect with us on Instagram at P-Car Talk or online at pcartalk.com.